Yep. Oh, there goes Peaches, and she's the best, and all the other MCs want to feel her breast. Right, right. I remember that line.
They got these animatronics, and they had this one avatar that looked like somebody's auntie out there playing bongos. And I swear to God, I thought I was in a dream. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Show versus Business, your weekly take on pop culture from two very different perspectives. I'm your host, Theo, and I have the man himself, Mr. Benja. What is up?
Oh man, it is another week, another day, and I'm glad to be here, man.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome, man. Well, we got a lot to talk about today. We have a resident legal expert here to talk a little bit about, about a lot of entertainers' contracts. There was a high profile incident with Dave Chappelle recently about his show and his deal with Comedy Central. So we want to kind of dig into that a little bit. We'll also do a Black movie check-in, the latest one coming to America. This time the sequel is actually coming, number 2, America. Very funny. And then, we'll do a check-in for next week, DC versus Marvel redo. And that's Falcon and Winter Soldier versus the Snyder Cut. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. But before we get on to that, Ben, how was your week?
Hey man, week was good. We've been pumping out the podcast. Stayed on schedule. We are building, still creating a lot of different things with the content, how we connect with people, social media. So it's been fun, man. I like that side of things. So it's also bleeding into my personal social media where I'm getting better at it. So it's just been a good week of continuing the process.
No, man, I love it. This is, I agree. I believe in just, being consistent and, putting good content out there and getting better every time. And I know we're building an audience over time. So it's been great. For me this week, it's been interesting, very interesting week, great week for my business, growing pretty pretty aggressively in new areas. But some interesting things happened this week. One things, we went to Disney again, visit the Mouse House. Had a chance to ride some of the Avatar rides. Man, that was some freaky stuff, man. So I know people haven't seen that movie Avatar in a long time, but they got these animatronics, and they had this one avatar that looked like somebody's auntie out there playing bongos. And I swear to God, I thought I was in a dream. And the kids loved it, but I was like, this is too freaky for me, man.
It reminds me, what was it? The Chuck E. Cheese. What's the name of that band they had in there?
Oh,
The big
yeah.
animatronic band at Chuck E. Cheese. You're trying to eat your slice of pizza, and this big bug-eyed, gorilla with purple hair is just talking and jamming away. Weird stuff.
Well, true story. I saw this is literally as soon as I got off that ride, a news story came up and said that Avatar, they re-released it in China. It was like the biggest movie in China this year. So it's kind of like Avatar is coming back, baby. Watch out.
It's such a big deal, but it doesn't seem like it should be, which is weird to me. I don't know.
So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this movie. So thought that was interesting this week. But look, we're going to go ahead and cut the banter short today because we have a special guest. Recently Dave Chappelle kind of released a comedy bit about his contract negotiations with Comedy Central for his show, the Chappelle Show, back in the day. This was because I think at the time HBO Max and Netflix, they both re-released his show out there basically without his consent, and he complained about it in so many words because he wasn't getting paid on that content, right? And so he questioned, the contract that was created when he first started this. And so not just, David Chappelle, but a lot of these artists are starting to rethink through their contracts, right? Because now their images and their content is going to be released in these streaming services forever, right? And so we brought on board Julius Adams. Julius is a litigation attorney and founder of Adams Law, and he does a lot with contract negotiations. So Julius, thank you for coming to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm good. Appreciate you having me on the show.
Perfect. So let's get into it. I mean, high level, right? we're not legal scholars here, but I mean, from that Dave Chappelle example, I mean, what goes on in those negotiations, right? When it comes to a celebrity doing these contracts, and can they be changed? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I was reading some articles, and from what I understand, Dave had made a comment that, well, when I made the contract during that time, I was broke, I was an expected father, and I was almost kind of forced into doing this contract, but it was a bad deal. And you have situations like this where you have a lot of artists say, "Oh, well, when I made the contract at the time I did it, I was in a different state of mind. Now things are different." And so that was his excuse. But, there's another side to the coin. And the other side is that, well, either a contract means something or it doesn't, right? Now, I think in this situation, what was it, CBS Viacom, right? They, I think, finally decided, as well as the other entities, Netflix and everybody, to go ahead and take it down and then pay him or renegotiate. And he had made a comment recently, said he had made millions of dollars, so everything is right with the world. But the other point of it is that what HBO Max was doing and what Netflix was doing was actually legal pursuant to the contract that he signed. So, you have this thing where, well, items may be changed, depending on what's going on. But I think the major point of it is this little thing called leverage. It's all about leverage at the time you make the contract. And apparently, even after the contract is made or already done, leverage still plays a part. Here, the leverage is that, Dave Chappelle, if this wasn't done, there may be another special he might do. He may go to another, outlet, and they would, of course, be cut out from that. So, they may have to think about the future. They could have fought it, but it probably wouldn't be smart to do. So I think they made the right move.
So let me get this clear. This is more of a it was legal for HBO Max and the companies involved to treat that content the way they did, but because of Dave Chappelle's clout, he was able to push the audience, and I guess they were responding to negative feedback from people. What else are they looking at that could have endangered them as companies?
Well, I think from a company standpoint, it's all about the bottom line, right? It's all about the money. So, people not being happy computes to less revenue,
Mm-hmm.
And so, I wasn't in the boardroom, but if I had to imagine, if they're thinking about dollars, there's this it's a simple equation, if we do this, if we keep going in this direction, and people are upset, and he decides to never work with us and badmouth us, that's going to lose us money. In contrast, work it out with him. It's gonna be to your detriment as a corporation to pay the money. Now, I understand they paid him millions of dollars, but it's in the long run. From a business standpoint, I think it would work out. So I don't necessarily know if they did it from a benevolent standpoint, but I think it probably just came down to money. It'd be a lot simpler to just work out the deal with him, cut the check to him as he would see fit, and then move on, and then later on, it'll probably work out. If he does another special, he may come back. That could be additional revenue. So I wasn't there, but I'm thinking the analysis went something like that.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking about this. So obviously, you kind of hinted at this, but Dave Chappelle mentioned he was broke, just had a child, so the leverage really was on his side. This reminds me a lot of those old school, probably still recent, music contracts, right? Where, you had TLC and those girl groups back in the 90s complaining that they got no money, right? And so I'm just curious, this leverage equation now that, the game has changed a little bit with digital media and streaming services, not just music, but, movies and TV shows. Do you think the artists can get back some of that leverage some kind of way, obviously, because they can have their own distribution channels, through YouTube and other things like that. So from a legal standpoint, how can a artist or someone who's creating content get back more leverage?
Well, that's an interesting question, and I had thought about this. Some would argue, some would say that the music industry and a lot of the music that we hear, especially like a lot of the mainstream music, is maybe like a little bit watered down. Some may say that, some may not. But, if it is, then there's a reason for that. And the reason is that, if you allow like high caliber singers only to sing, or high caliber rappers only to rap, and such and so forth, then, then they're harder to replicate, and to make stars, now social media is kind of cutting that down. But what I'm saying all that to say is that if as a record company, if you can replicate this product and you can actually make someone a star with very little talent, then come negotiating time, the company would have leverage, because if they don't submit to the terms that you want, then they can just very easily go to someone else. In contrast, if it's someone very high caliber, then it would be only a small sect of people that you could really deal with and negotiate. So that changes the odds, because, that particular artist, if he or she has a lot of demand, then, come negotiating time, they can say, well, I can command this kind of revenue coming in. So I want the terms to be like this, So I think it's changing with social media. It is changing, because it appears that artists and various people can put, they can create their own platforms, and so that very much, kind of changes the playing field. But I still think that the corporations, when you're trying to look at, somebody becoming a superstardom, there's still some influence there, because their money and influence is needed for that particular artist. So, those are pretty much my thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's in the visual arts world. I know that there's a lot of foolery that goes on in all of these entertainment industries and their contracts in different ways. I know one thing that ends up happening with visual artists is that they'll get contracted to do, say, a mural, or if there's an event going on, they do some painting, live painting or something. And then what ends up happening is that mural or that live painting, the image itself might not get stolen, but they say, well, hey, we have all the production rights to everything we saw at the event. You painted this thing at the event. We're going to take this picture and use it as advertising. And it gets really weird, because that gets licensed off to, the stock image guys. It gets licensed off to people doing commercials. Um, the uses are just incredible, and artists are always just confused on, hey man, what do I do, and how can I stop this? And it's just something artists aren't generally taught. They're only taught how to produce the art and nothing on the legal side of it. So I don't know, maybe is there how would you suggest to artists, what to look into, what to look for, maybe in these type of things on the law side?
Yeah, well, it's if you're going to go into any business, educate yourself. The law has its hands in everything, just about everything. So, if regardless of, what you're looking at, be it like visual art or audio art or any type of art, you want to educate yourself. And then if you're going to, get into contracts that are going to be, lucrative, or really anything, have a lawyer review it. I would not try to, review it yourself and try to make sense of it. A lot of the terms are confusing, and try to find somebody that can help you. But I wouldn't sign anything unless I, really knew, what all of the terms are, because it's at those times when people are signing the contracts and they don't know, and they're not really thinking about those things, that they're signing their rights away, And so it's just really important to have that negotiation, that you just can't be harped enough.
Yeah, I think the challenge is, obviously, we all taught that, you should probably have a lawyer review things, but sometimes, like you said, the leverage, you're like, well, this is a big opportunity. The numbers look big. Let me just go ahead and sign this thing, right? And so we can kind of move forward with it, right? So how do you advise your clients not to resist that urge, right? Because obviously the numbers make sense, but are there ways to kind of mitigate against that? So are there some strategies to kind of say, well, who can I reach out to? Who is someone who understands this industry? And so what have you told some of your clients, or even before they became your clients, what would you give people advice on around those areas?
Well, I mean, this is like the specific is like you always, like in any type of contract, you always want to look at something dealing with like the property, because this is all what we call intellectual property, right? And so when they look at that, that's going to be an important clause of like what you're actually signing away. And I don't want to get too too legal here, but that is just definitely something that you really want to look at, or just find someone who specializes in that. I wouldn't just get any lawyer. I'd get a lawyer who deals with, a lot of contract writing, and particularly in the industry that you're in. So if you're dealing with someone that deals with a lot of music, you probably want someone that does that day in and day out. Not all lawyers are the same. And so, we all do kind of like different things. And so, you probably want someone to look at that. But definitely, in any type of contract, you want to look at the clauses that deal with the intellectual property. That's probably, I mean, they're all of the clauses are going to be important, but that's one that you really want to make sure, because that's going to be something that deals with what you're giving away, what you're waiving, and what you may want to consider to protect. And any company will negotiate with you if they really want you. So if they're giving you, something and you want to negotiate back and they're not negotiating, then that just means that you have less leverage. And so maybe you need to do something to get to establish that leverage, like, become a social media sensation. Once you can show like the numbers and what you carry, then that can be a lot more effective when you sit down at the negotiating table. It's all about leverage. Mm-hmm. Can't forget that.
Yeah, and real quick on that, I mean, easier said than done, right? I mean, a big theme about what Ben and I talk about is just like, how these smaller content creators can, create their raving fans, right? 100 or even 1,000 raving fans, right? In their own little mini platforms, which is great, so that way it gives you the leverage, right? So, that hopefully, the things that we're talking about in this podcast can help folks kind of think through that, understand how they can create that leverage. So when they get in those one-on-one meetings, right, with those corporations, they have that bigger advantage. So, so taking a step back. So, as you kind of work with clients and talk through certain things, what have you seen, beyond just social media, sensation? What are some of the ways they've done to kind of create leverage, right? Beyond just that, or, is it like they're part of a trend, or what have you seen in the, content creation, entertainment business, that you've seen people have done successfully, right? That allowed them to have that leverage.
Well, I guess in terms of like entertainment, it appears to me that it's all about the attention that you can gather, and how fast you can gather it. And so, it's all about how much content that you can put out there. The content has to be, continuous, and it has to be something that engages people. People, that's what it comes down to, because it's really about, it's two ways. You can either build your own platform and show what you're worth, or someone can do it for you, and that would be like, say, a record company. So if they're going to do it for you, which, in some instances they probably can, then you're going to lose leverage in that negotiation because they're doing everything for you. So I guess, the answer to that would be, if you can do a lot of the legwork yourself initially, in showing the attention that you're able to attract, then you can present those numbers, and I think the politics will die down and the numbers will kick in. If you can show, what you can really do. And social media apparently is an excellent platform for that. So, and people are utilizing it.
Yeah, we've that's a very good point. In fact, to piggyback off that a little bit, in the creative community, at least, it's been a long-standing kind of mantra that, the quality over the quantity. That's been the thing. But lately, with this attention and, kind of marketing driven way of things, it's like, no, the content comes first. If even if your art is bad and you can put out, hundreds of images, the next time somebody has a dispute about it, you can say, well, look, I've got these hundreds of images from all this time, and I've seen, disagreements get settled just because this guy's Twitter account has been accessed so many times and there's so many pictures, and everybody looks at it and says, oh, well, clearly this guy's right. And it's just because they had a lot of content out there. And it's been really bizarre to me how that switchover has been happening.
Right. And I think that with social media, social media is not going anywhere. I think it's just going to only increase to where it's going to be it's just another form of marketing that is proven to be very, very effective. And people are going to just stick with that. So it's going to be, unfortunately, in my personal opinion, I think it's going to be difficult for, I guess, true artists to really kind of bring that to the forefront, because if you will.
No, I'm laughing because I know these true artists, and a lot of them are kicking their furniture over every day that, this continues, but carry on. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Like the true artists in any art form. I mean, you name it. It's going to die down as this goes down. I mean, as this trend continues. So, I mean, what I would say to the true artists is, keep putting your stuff out there, do what they're doing, put out more content, try to do what you can do to, increase your numbers, or, in the same way that the others are doing, and then go to the negotiating table.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talked about an artist recently that's got into this non-fungible token game, Beeple. And, obviously he's done something interesting in that space. But the thing that I kind of put out on our social media post was that he was consistent. He has a series called Every Days where he posted an art project every day for 13 years. And so, like you said, there's a long history of content that he's created. And yes, he's doing something innovative. It's 3D art. It's all these other things, but that consistency mattered. And I don't know if there's a legal term for this, right? Like Ben said, if you just have a history of a public record of this content that you produced out there, does that mean, obviously you have ownership, but also rights to it? What does that mean from a legal standpoint? So when, it comes down to a negotiation table, what can you say, from a legal standpoint, and say, look, I have this content publicly released. I've been doing it consistently. Look at my Twitter account. Is there a legal term for that? Or what would you advise?
That kind of stuff kind of falls under, copyright, basically, and copyright, you can get ownership of your content the minute that you create it and you put it out. If you can show ownership, and there's nothing like special you have to do, you get that, as soon as you show that you put out the content. But I guess where it just starts to get complicated is like the places and of where it can be used and where it can be publicized. That's going to create the tension or create the effect, whatever the creator intended. So, that's where it gets kind of weird, because, at what point does like, say, art stop becoming, able for the public use, so if you put it out there, can people not look at it? It just gets kind of complicated. So, in order for like a creator to protect themselves, and you have to make it known and very conspicuous that is your product, and there's easy ways to kind of document that. But once you get that established, then you have that. So if people take it, then you can, claim that, damages and stuff like that. Now, where it gets a little bit more complicated is like, what kind of damages can you get? And that's another part of it. So you can own something and somebody can take it, and then you can recover, but then how much can you recover is the issue, And so when you're looking at, how much you can recover, it would depend on, at that point, well, did you have it registered? Or is there some kind of a patent on it? Or do you have some kind of a claim on it that's registered, that's for everyone to see? It's not like hidden, or anybody who did any kind of due diligence would know, oh, that is so-and-so's product, or that's so-and-so's mark, or what have you. Then if they were to take that, then you could sue for damages, and you can get the maximum amount of damages because you've done all the proper steps, Mm-hmm. So I guess like the contrast is like, as soon as you make something, you own it and you can't sue for it. But But the amount of damages kind of depends upon, is it registered, and how it was put out and how it affected you.
Hmm.
So yeah.
No, this is great. I mean, Julius, thank you for your time. This has been very insightful to understand a little bit more about the legal ramifications of all this content that we're putting out there and trying to understand. So, real quick before you head out, what pop culture are you consuming right now? Obviously you're a legal person, but I'm sure you love different things in pop culture. So, what are you watching right now?
Well, I like. I gotta say, I'm a Star Wars fan, and I watch Star Wars, and I'm looking forward to. I think is the season 3 of the Mandalorian coming out soon.
Well, sure. We don't really know. Ben, what's the word on that? Is it Boba Fett
Uh,
first and then Mandarin?
they're keeping it kind of loose, man, so they can make changes and not get the fans mad at them. They're like, well, it's called the Book of Boba Fett. We're like, wait a minute, is that season 3 or not? What are you talking about? So they've got a little wiggle room to play with, and a couple more shows coming out. So yeah, plenty of Star Wars coming down the pipeline. So you should be happy with that.
Yeah, no, yeah, Disney. They look like they've got again a lot more content coming out on that. I think a lot of shows concerning Star Wars and stuff and different things.
Yeah, we're
So
gonna be watching Star Wars to the day we die, man. So be prepared.
No, that's
so
that's
be
that's not a
prepared.
joke. He's By the way, everybody. That's actually what their plan is.
oh man, our grandkids gonna be watching Star Wars. It's gonna be bananas, but it's all good, man. Well, Julius, man, hey, thanks for the time. Maybe we'll bring you back on the pod. I think some other content's coming, Disney Plus, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Maybe we'll bring you on to talk a little bit more about that. And
Yeah.
but no, thanks for your ideas around legals. Hopefully, it helps some folks, and as we kind of help content creators understand how they can bring more business into what they create. So thank you for your time, man. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you for having me.
All right. Take care. So, everyone, that was a great session. So, just talking about the legal opportunities when it comes to entertainers, and how they deal with the legal system. So, obviously, this is dealing with content that's been around for a while, how you kind of leverage, and keep it vibrant. And so, one content that's been around for a long time, Coming to America, recently Coming to America Part 2 was recently released. And so, Ben, what were your thoughts about Coming to America, the movie?
Um, I don't know if anybody noticed in the editing, but there's a little time travel going on, and now that we're time traveling back to my Coming to America days, this is all kind of crazy for me. Coming to America with the number 2, America. This was one of the most the highest form of mediocrity in cinema I've seen in a while. I mean, if you look at it on paper, you're probably like, yeah, okay, that's the joke I expected. Oh yeah, yeah, okay. Oh, nope, that same character's back. Yep, yep, yep. Oh, there goes Peaches, and she's the best, and all the other MCs want to feel her breast. Right, right. I remember that line. It took me back in time. That's what happened. So yeah, just extremely mediocre.
So, spoiler alert. Do we do the spoiler alert before we get into it?
Yeah, yeah. Spoiler
I
alert
mean,
for Coming to
what
America.
you get, yeah, what you can't spoil. It's available Amazon Prime for streaming. So I think 119 million Americans have Amazon Prime. So you haven't seen it, go check it out. But literally, it did take you back in time, because you remember they did the whole CGI thing with Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall. They make them look younger,
Yeah.
So they actually put them back into some club scenes to kind of re-engage with the story. So, to me, I was like, okay, cool, sure, you got money to do it, let's do it. But I would agree, it was okay. I mean, I thought it was interesting. I mean, I thought they wanted to do a big party, and that's what they did. I mean, basically, I think they filmed it in Atlanta, and so they just say, hey, they just called a bunch of friends. Hey, you want to be in Coming to America too? I mean, literally, Ben. Look, if someone called you and said, "Did you want to be in Coming to America Part 2?" Would you jump at the chance, no matter who you were, as a black celebrity?
Zamunda for life. I'm about to say Zamunda forever. Yeah, it's okay. So for a lot of you that don't know, when they say they're going to make a show or a production, get into a movie, an album, a video game, or whatever, you don't just say, "Hey, I'm going to do it." You have to bring a lot of people together. You have to get schedules together. You have to make sure the right um, groups and the money is there. And it's one of those things where it's like, well, hey, uh, I'm not going to do the directing if I can't have you know some character with me or some star with me. Like this actually started from Ryan Coogler.
Hmm.
Ryan Coogler wanted to kept having ideas for it and kept pitching them to Eddie Murphy, and Eddie Murphy was like, "Well, it's not something I want to do." Not that he didn't want to do it, but he wasn't pushing for it. So Ryan Coogler of Black Panther wanted to do it. He wanted to put Michael B. Jordan in there,
Yeah.
the Killmonger character. He wanted to put that guy in there as the son. Didn't really work out over time, and but the Black Panther costume designer actually designed all the costumes for Coming to America. So that link still
Yeah.
stayed in there,
Real.
and
Ruth Carter. Yeah.
that's
Academy Award winner Ruth Carter.
yeah.
Awesome.
I gotta say, man, some of those outfits were kind of fresh.
Man, that was the best part of the movie. I mean, when some of them outfits came out, I was like,
Mm.
yeah. I was like, damn. So I mean, you're right. I think A+ for the costumes, 100%.
Yeah, and Ross's house too.
Yeah, Rick Ross, man. I put an article on our show notes about he. I think he bought this mansion. It was originally from Evander Holyfield, the boxer. He bought it for 5.8 million. He basically it's like 100 houses, 100 rooms, all this stuff, everything you can imagine in a big baller mansion. And he basically rents it out to movie productions to use it. And then I think it's got hundred tons of acres, and so it just said, hey, just film Come to America here. And I think he has a small part in the movie. I don't know if you remember. I guess Wesley Snipes' character. They go to his country, and he's there as one of the soldiers, I guess. But hey, Mark, man, that's business 101, man. He's doing his thing. He bought a property, but now he's using it as income producing for him. Brilliant idea, brilliant.
Yeah, man, actually the Evander Holyfield house is just it's got history to it anyway. That's I didn't know that was the house, but that's kind of awesome. I love it.
No, so I mean, we talk a little bit about the numbers. So I think the original movie it cost about 30 million, 28 million to make, and then it made 300 million worldwide, right? So basically 10x, the money. And so it was a hit back then, and then obviously it's a classic over 30 years later. So by all measures, successful movie, right? Um, what about this movie? So this movie was 60 million to make, but we'll never know how much it makes for Amazon, right? I mean, I don't know how they track their ratings or their systems. So,
Well,
and will this be a classic 30 years from now? I don't know.
no, no, not a classic. It'll be one of those watershed moments where I was like, hey, you remember when they tried to bring back Coming to America and it was extremely mediocre? And I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's extremely mediocre. It's I don't even know how to
Well,
I don't even know how to define it. It's like not a USA Up All Night movie, not a afternoon.
you would stay up all night. Ooh, dating yourself, man. Wow.
Yeah, not one of those TNT afternoon movies for men or whatever shows it used to have. Uh, it's got a vibe to it that you'll recognize though when you watch it. You're like, oh, okay, it's this kind of movie.
Yeah, it's kind of like an unnecessary sequel. I mean, be honest with you, it's kind of like that was a classic, and I think I don't know about you, but my expectations were very low going in. I didn't really expect it to be anything other than what it was. So because that one is so beloved and so quotable that going to this movie, you just knew like it couldn't match that. No matter what they did. So just going in with that kind of helped level my expectations. But it did feel like you're going to a family reunion, right?
Yeah.
Seeing actors and you haven't seen in ever. And I love how they did. There was a one scene where King Jeffrey, I think I forgot the James Earl Jones character. He passed away. He was wanted to have a big funeral, And so they were like, okay, I heard the voiceover and I was, oh, that's Morgan Freeman. And they were like, and introducing Morgan Freeman. He shows up. I mean, he's literally in the movie. I'm like, well, see, that's what you do when you have a classic movie. You have him show up. And then they escalated by like, oh, by the way, here's In Vogue. Here's, who else did they have? In Vogue, they had Salt and Pepper, and they had Gladys Knight. And they were remixing, they remade their songs to mix with the plot. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like, they were like, it's like, wow. So it's just like that. To me, I thought that was probably one the microcosm of what this was about. It was basically just a family reunion.
And to be fair to the show, it's for people who are extremely nostalgic, it's going to be a lot more enjoyable for you. Um, I spend a lot of my time, trying to see what new things people are going to do. So, I have a different little bend on it. But no, it's fine if you just want to go back and see all your favorite characters show up. So, there's that. But you mentioned Amazon. It's actually the number one show on Amazon. I loaded up
Of
Prime
course.
today, and yeah, I saw the little banner, number one show coming to America. I don't know what that means, but
Well, I mean, so did you watch Dolomite is My Name on Netflix?
I actually haven't watched that one.
Yeah, so basically it's not the similar people, but it's Eddie Murphy's in it. Wesley Snipes is in it, and I think the guy who played his son, Jermaine Fowler, was also in that one, right? And so it's kind of similar, kind of comedy in a sense. So it looked like the band, Eddie Murphy kind of got out there, create this thing called Dolomite is My Name. For those that don't know, Dolomite was a is it black ploitation? Is that how you pronounce it? Character actor, in the 70s, basically kind of like along the lines of Shaft, but he was more comedic, I would say. And, he was kind of like a rapping, crime
Intentionally or not,
fighter.
he was funny.
Oh, he was hilarious. If you've never seen Dolomite, you gotta check it out. But it's comedy. But anyway, he rose to prominence and just one of those characters, actors, black actors just trying to make it in Hollywood and did pretty well for himself. So Eddie Murphy did a movie based on that actor and that character. And I think it was on Netflix. It's still on Netflix a couple years ago. And so it kind of got Eddie Murphy back out there making movies again and doing something interesting. So I think that same kind of premise and comedy style kind of came over to uh, this movie right here, Coming to America. So it's kind of interesting, but it's kind of like some of the jokes, Coming to America were kind of flat, and some of the plotting didn't make sense. Like I didn't believe the Jermaine Fowler character and the girl that he ended up marrying. I didn't believe they would fall in love so quick. I didn't get that part. And then at the end, they kind of just everything got deflated. The conflict between Wesley Snipes' character and Eddie Murphy kind of got deflated because Randy Watson just started singing and everybody just had a party and it was over. So I was like, okay, sure.
Best scene to me was the mop scene when he started to mop in the McDowell's. I was
Sentimental favorite.
I was
Yeah.
like, hey man, I'm a hard ass and I got a heart of stone that I keep locked away. But sometimes, it warms up a little bit. And that scene with the mop where he starts talking to his old McDonald's manager, that got me. I was like, you know what? I like this. So
Nostalgia got you.
that one, no, it was heartful, man. I dug that. So
So
what's
that of all the characters returning and everything, you got nostalgic about the mop scene, and then it made sense for the character because he mentioned that he that brought grounded him more, right, by bringing it back to just mopping the floor. It makes sense where as a king everything's more complicated, so I get that part.
yeah, it's it yeah, it was cool to me. That's all I gotta say. Uh,
Nah.
what's so what's Eddie's play here? I mean, what's his? He's getting back into movies. Getting back into. He says he's going to get back into stand up. Um, you know, he's a powerful name. And he's one of these, black royalty of entertainment figures, where you can just kind of show up and everyone's like, "Hey, Eddie Murphy's here. Open the door." So I'm
Mhm.
wondering what his play is here.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's interesting. I mean, he doesn't have to do anything. I mean, he may already made so much money, but obviously, it's drawing him back. Did you see the SNL when he came back on SNL last year?
Yeah, yeah.
What'd you think?
I thought it was solid, man. Dude's still funny.
Nah, man. He still got it, man. I mean, he still got it. What's that from? Mike Tyson from The Hangout. Man, I'm telling you, man, he still got it. So,
As and you know what? He's just one of those naturally funny guys. Like there are people who have to actually work at it, and you'll see them when they're studying their jokes. They're really, really working, like trying to figure it out analytically. Will Smith did some videos, and they were on Tyler Perry's sound stages, and Will Smith ran around getting everybody together. He was like, "Hold on, this is crazy. I'm here. Martin Lawrence is here. Eddie Murphy's here," and he was getting all these people together in the shot that he was doing on his cell phone. And when Eddie Murphy stepped in, it's like he wasn't even trying. He was just the funniest guy there, you know because he walked in and said something to the effect of, "What you all don't realize, looking on the internet, is that people have been running around, working and sweating in their trailers all day. It is not the same effect when you're close to this many bodies at once." And he just kind of made this stanky face. And everybody's cracking up, like, "Hey, we're stars. You can't talk about how funky we are." And Eddie was just killing it. So I'm really glad to see him back. That's all.
no. Did you ever watch the Get in the Cars with Comedians and Coffee with Seinfeld and him? Oh
Yeah.
man, that was hilarious too. And then they did the whole interview with Joy Reid, and I mean, you're right. He's just, I mean, it seems like he's like a shy person, I guess, but for some reason, when you put the camera on him or something, and he just starts talking, man, it's just like, that's just who he naturally is. He just comes alive when that he starts talking. So yeah, I hope. Yeah, like you said, I think everybody wants to see him back. I mean, you know, he's he's made so much money and like putting out mediocre to terrible comedy and, and content for the last shoot, what, 20 years. I was, well, maybe about 10 years really. From what was it Pluto Nash and was that Norbit? Those are pretty trash movies. But we hope that he can come back and really get back out there with some interesting stuff. So I think everybody wants him to. So just a matter if he has that desire to do so. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Pluto Nash. I met the guy. His name is Trevor something. He's a albino guy in Pluto Nash. I actually met him at a comedy club in Minneapolis, and I was like, "Hey, man, you're doing some stuff. I'll look you up." And it turns out he did porn as well. So
Oh.
it's just kind of weird looking somebody up and they're like, doing porn, and doing stuff, I should say.
Yeah, doing stuff.
I won't
Well,
say it
you
was
know what?
straight porn.
It's funny, man. I remember back in the day. This is off topic totally, but I remember back in the day. There was a comedy show that I went to, and I saw. I remember, what's his name? The guy, man, he does he was on Community, and he does the Masked Singer a lot. Man, what is his
Mm.
name right now? I'm drawing a blank right now, but it come to me. But he was like doing comedy shows and really trying to make it happen. And so, but like you said, there was some porn actors, trying to be comedians, and it was like kind of funny to me. So it's kind of like, hey, man, don't judge me for what I do, my day job, man. I'm still a comedian, so hey, you never know.
I mean, somebody's yelling in the background, in the audience, "We don't want your dick jokes." Just
No. Man, I got like 100 of them though, bro.
too much information.
Ken Jong, yeah, he's big time now. But I remember him being the host of a comedy show every week in L.A. I went a couple of times, and I remember him saying he was a doctor. He's like, I'm a doctor, and but hey, I love doing this, and now he's big time. So it's kind of funny, man. I love entertainment. You just don't know who's gonna make it. So anyway, I digress. But speaking of digression, let's get into next week, man. I think. Battle Royale, man. Once again, Marvel v DC. We're gonna have two major releases next week. One on Thursday, one on Friday. First up is Snyder Cut. the 4-hour extravaganza with a 10-minute intermission that finally gets released. And then we also had the premiere on Friday of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is a continuation of Marvel's domination on TV. So are we hype? What's
I,
the thoughts?
I'm hyped, man. You've seen me in the Facebook group where we talk about this nonsense. I'm kind of hype about it. I don't know if I even care that it's that good. I'm just kind of hype about it. So I want to see some Snyder cut. I want to see what they do for these, 4 hour segments or whatever. I'm excited. I'm gonna be there.
Yeah. So I guess it's Falcon and Winter Soldier. I mean, I think some people are excited about it because just Marvel's domination again. But to your point, it's going to be more of a series. I think maybe 10 episodes. So it's probably not going to be a big hubbub. But the Snyder Cut, I mean, that was a cult almost, right? I mean, think about it. It was like you had billboards out there talking about release the Snyder Cut, man. You had Netflix specials about the Snyder Cut, man. It was like almost mythical that it didn't even exist, and then all of a sudden it was here. So it's kind of like, what's going on? And then I saw these you know little snippets about like he brought back in for reshoots, and this guy's doing this. I mean, it's like, is it a whole new movie or what's going on?
According to our friend in the know, Pete Benavides, man, he's all in there, and he got the early access, and he's giving it praise. So I, I kind of trust his opinion.
Sure, he's a DC acolyte. He's a DC acolyte, man. He loves it. He
Yeah,
loves it.
I'm not
So
saying it's actually going to be better than Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but I'm just more interested in what's going on. The whole thing is crazy to me.
really is, man. I mean, this is a movie that, uh, unfortunately, he couldn't finish, right, because of some personal issues. And then, the movie got released, got panned, but I think it still made. I should know the numbers. That's bad. I don't know the numbers on that show, but it made almost $1 billion. I think the problem was it didn't make $1 billion, and that's why everybody was upset. But he. I mean, now he came back, and so people said there was another cut of this movie, but in my mind, I don't know. Was the cut existed or did the cut get created because people thought there was a cut? It's kind of like what came first.
Yeah, I mean, we do know that there was a ton of footage left unused. Whether that all actually got put into a workable state, and to what extent that workable state was actually, invested in, no telling. Um, so we'll see. Let us know what you think coming up. What you think of it if you've already seen it by this time, or what you're thinking about it in the future, because I want to see what the people think.
Okay, yeah, me too, man.
Yeah.
I'll be interested.
And what about Falcon and Winter Soldier for you?
I'm kind of excited. I mean, it seems like more of that action buddy comedy. You know, the one-liners, the badassery. Just doing all kinds of craziness to just to keep you excited. How would that look week to week? We'll see. But I'm excited. Might see a car explode once a week. I mean, it'll be a simpler storytelling than WandaVision. I mean, those first two episodes, I get what they were doing, but it was kind of like, you're basically watching 30 minutes to see like a minute of something that could, perhaps be relevant, 5 episodes later. This one, yeah, man, it's just exploding cars, man. I mean, I've heard. Well, before you get to it, real quick, I heard that they said that. So it's kind of like the flip opposite of WandaVision. WandaVision was on the forefront. We're doing something radical. You never seen this before, right? Oh, and by the way, here's a story. The plot is in here somewhere. This one is like, oh, this is gonna be what you think it is. Plot, blah, plot. But oh, by the way, we're gonna have some important discussion about, what does it mean to be a black, Captain America, or, who's gonna take the mantle up of Captain America, or right? What does that mean in America?
Yeah.
Dominated by this and that. So it's kind of like they're doing the opposite of WandaVision. It's like the spectacle is in the forefront. Oh, by the way, in the background is all this important discussion.
Yeah. So okay, that's an it's interesting because Marvel always relies on, and this is coming from the comics as well. You always rely on your your genres and your different lanes that you have in the comics. You're going to have your mutant storyline. You're going to have your magic storyline, magic slash uh, mystical slash horror, whatever you want to call it. If you want to bring Blade into that, if even, um, and then you have your straight up, action side, and all these different lanes are supposed to kind of run together all at once. So these are two, you know, I was about to say B level, but I don't even want to call Wanda and Mackie B level characters. I'll even drop them down to C level characters, that are starting off the whole MCU. So if WandaVision is setting up the mystical side with Doctor Strange, who's A level, gets his own film that did really well. Um, and then on the B level side, C level side, you've got Falcon and Winter Soldier. Are they building up into Black Panther 2? Are they building up into, Shang-Chi could probably, straddle the fence of being both mystical and action based. So I'm actually more interested in the story that they're going to tell on the action side because I simply don't know what it is yet. Like I knew WandaVision, I could say, oh, okay, yeah, you figure out that whole multiverse thing, blah blah blah. Mephisto could maybe come in, and all this weirdness, and the universe might explode. You kind of can see that in your head. I don't know where they're going with the military side, the action side, and that's very interesting to me. So I'll be there to watch it.
No, you make a good point up. There's like 4 tracks going on right now for Marvel. I was just thinking about that on top of my head, right? So you have the mystical, which is WandaVision, and and all the multiverse stuff. You got the space stuff, right? But there's 2 space things
Oh,
going
I
on,
forgot about
really.
Guardians. Yeah.
Yeah. You got the Guardians doing their craziness, right? Whatever that means, and then the Eternals that's going to be released later,
Hmm.
one day this year. But then you also in this space, you also have it's kind of pseudo space, pseudo something else, the secret wars, right? The whole
Secret
invasion
Invasion.
by the
Secret
scrolls,
Invasion.
secret invasion by the scrolls, right? They
Mhm.
kind of hinted at in WandaVision, right? So that I don't think that fits in the mystical, but Monica Rambeau, she's going to be part of that whole secret invasion and Captain Marvel, right? And Captain Marvel too. So that's I would classify them maybe as 2 space stories, right? But they're really 2 separate stories. And then you're right, this action storyline. So what? Yeah, what is going to be? What is that going to be part of Secret Invasion, or is it going to be its own thing? So you're right. We
Well,
don't know where that links into everything.
maybe we can call it the sci-fi angle and the space angle, because
Okay.
like Thor falls into that mystical cosmic space thing, and Guardians a little more into the sci-fi space kind of thing.
Hmm.
I don't know.
So, but you're right though. The whole action thing, where is that going to fit into? Is it going to be part of Secret Invasion, or is it going to be its own separate thing that they want to kind of build up? And I'm trying to think. I don't know what they're having released. I mean, you're right. The only thing they could potentially build up into is maybe Black Panther, but I don't see any linkage between Captain America and Black Panther besides what Ta-Nehisi Coates he wrote for both those comics at one time.
Well,
Ta-Nehisi Coates.
he gave him a shield. He fixed up, the Wakandans fixed up Winter Soldier's arm.
Yeah,
Um,
that's good.
there's that whole thing. So yeah, as I said, I just don't know what that enemy, that force looks like. It's an important arm of it, you know what I mean? But I just don't know what it is yet. So it should be interesting. Have fun with it, and shout out to, you know, both uh, Winter Soldier. I mean, not Winter Falcon and Winter Soldier, and um, the Justice League for putting out these. We have 2 stories with interesting Black characters in them. So I'm actually kind of curious about how they play them as well.
No, so yeah, let's talk about that briefly, real quick. Fisher, Cyborg, like you mentioned before, like his character arc is going to get beefed up a little bit more, for this Snyder cut, but obviously, he's kind of person, non grata right now in WB, right, world, in the Warner Brothers world. So what does that mean for his career? I mean, what do you think? Is anything gonna come out of this, or just gonna be kind of like,
I mean,
good
yeah,
stuff?
Hollywood loves the star that makes money, right? Or that does them well. So if the Justice League, the Snyder version works out, then we've got a great possibility of seeing Ray Fisher's star shine bright again. If we don't like it, then this may be the end of Ray Fisher's large scale career. And I mean, I don't want to put that energy out there. Now, I think it's going to be a good presentation, but that's a danger, It's like, um, Zack Snyder has said before that Cyborg was really the heart of the film, the guy we could relate to. He was all American high school kid. He's got the story that we're supposed to attach to as regular people. So that makes sense for him to say that. Um, but how's he going to play out for Ray Fisher? I really hope it does well. I really hope he lands on his feet. And if you really want to kick DC in the nuts, Marvel might be able to hire him over for something, or he may be able to get pulled off into another kind of universe or whatever. I don't know. Anything can happen, but hope it does well for him.
Oh, Malarverse. He might go over to Malarverse.
Oh God, fucking Mark Millar, man.
Hey man, he created a template for the Avengers, man. I don't care what you say, man. He was the reason why Sam Jackson got cast as Nick Fury, man, because it wasn't for him.
Wait, how'd that happen? How'd that happen? Hold on.
The not the Avengers. What was the name of the comic book he wrote for man? What was the name of it? I forgot the name. The Ultimates. Remember, he created the whole Thor look. He created Nick Fury.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
remember it was the whole new Marvel line. That's where obviously Michael Bendis created Miles Morales, right? For Spider-Man. So anyway, yeah, Mark Millar, I mean, he gets a lot of crap, I get it, because of some of his crappy movies. But and some of it like Hit Girl and Hit Man and all that kind of stuff. Or no, what was it called? Kick Ass.
Kick-Ass.
Kick Ass. And I can't believe they did a part 2 of Kick Ass. Can you believe that? That's a whole nother story. But
I don't mind Mark Millar. I'm just like, thing is, I hear so much, but I get so little, And I actually really like the Wanted movie that came out with Angelina Jolie. I thought that was really interesting and comic booky and cool. So, I'm not mad at Mark Millar. I'm just like, oh God, come on, man. We've been hearing about Millar World for ages, and give me the heat, man.
No, I think Netflix also did Jupiter's Legacy. I think that's the name of it. There's another whole universe that they're creating too, right? From some new a new comic book verse that they're trying to create. So like I said, man, this stuff, we're gonna be watching this stuff to the day we die, man. So many different comic book universes coming up, and so Ray Fisher, I'm sure they'll pluck him and put him somewhere because but he goes hard, man. I respect him, man. He is not giving up, man. He is going hard in the paint on this, man. This is like
basically
his thing, man. His thing. And I guess I get it because it's kind of like if you make a stand, then hopefully it's better for other actors in the future. And it's like it's kind of funny too, man. It's like who was another actor that said something? Christina, we talked about it. Christina Carpenter, right, from
charisma.
Buffy. Charisma. I always say the wrong thing. She said something to back up what he said finally, but no one said anything. And then even some of the people that were on the movie set with him kind of really prefaced it, very nuanced with what they spoke about it. So it wasn't until like when she said something, then everyone's like, oh, maybe he's legit in what he's saying. So I give him credit, man. That's hard to be out there by yourself, man.
I mean,
stuff he's saying.
when you're the one guy with the pitchfork out in front, it's like, that guy's crazy. He's got a pitchfork out in front. But then when you've got, a crowd of people with pitchforks and torches, and you're like, okay, now it's something. Now I can join in and be safe. But when you're just one guy, the Ray Fisher yelling your heart out, it's like, I don't know, man. I hope this works out.
Yeah. So, hey, he's a hero, man. Just stand his ground. So good for him, man. So yeah, man, I'm excited. So it's gonna be interesting. I guess we talked a little bit about what we're excited about next week. Anything else coming up for you next week, man?
Nothing personally, man. I'm just gonna start putting out more of the video clips. I think a lot of people need to hear this heat that we're dropping. So that's my plan. I'm gonna check out
yeah.
Lupin. Speaking of Raphael, what our friend Raphael, he worked on Jupiter's Legacy actually. So if we get to talking about that, we get his opinion on some things. Yeah.
That's what's up. Yeah, we're gonna try to do more interviews and get more folks on the pod to kind of talk a little bit about their corner of the world, right? As we kind of combine the show versus business, and so that's the goal for this month. But no, I think that's it, man. We're gonna wrap it up for today. I think Ben, has been great as always to kind of talk to you, and I think as always, please like and subscribe us on the social media, especially Instagram and our Facebook. We'd love to kind of hear from you as well. So just tweet out to us some of your thoughts on what you think about what we talk about. Once again, everyone, have a great week, and we'll catch up with you soon. Take care.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to Show versus Business, your weekly take on pop culture. Please subscribe to this podcast at Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever else you listen to podcasts. Please like and subscribe to our Instagram page, Show versus Business, to get exclusive behind-the-scenes takes and upcoming episodes. Talk to you next time.
Finish him!